Football is back, and so is High on Football Weekend Vartalap. This is Pierucci on one side, hello, and there is Pratik on the other side as usual.
Hello.
Okay, let's straight get to the weekend's big game. So this is Don Carlo versus Jurgen Klopp, the reigning manager of the year, and of course, with his high-flying Liverpool team not strangely top right now. Everton occupy that top spot along with season surprises Aston Villa. So an interesting turn of events if we consider what happened 2 weeks back, which seems like a lifetime now. I know we had the international break in between, and there are certain players who are supposedly coming back. I think Thiago and Mane are in contention for this game for Liverpool. But Everton are the informed side, like you were talking about it earlier, and with Dominic Calvert-Lewin in good form for England as well on the international break. So this is perhaps one of the most interesting Merseyside derbies we have had in a long time. I mean, usually it's a fiery affair, but mostly it's a one-sided affair. We have hardly seen any Everton victories, especially at Anfield. But this game is at Goodison Park, of course. So, is there an interesting, I don't know if power shift is a very strong word right now, but at least is there a power struggle going to happen today?
A lot of interesting numbers at play here, actually. Like you said, we haven't had a very interesting Merseyside derby for a long time. And I'll actually tell you the year. I mean, the last time Everton won a Merseyside derby, it was 2010. Since then, there have been 22 derbies, 11 were draws, and 11 were won by Liverpool. So that has been the length of time that Everton has been unable to beat Liverpool in the English Premier League. So that's the head to head there. And another interesting fact when we talk about head to head is, as you started off with, like Don Carlo versus Jurgen Klopp. I mean, there's an interesting head to head there as well. So uh, the head to head between Klopp and Ancelotti as of now stands at 3-3, like, including the Liverpool games against Napoli and all. So basically, like, I think from Everton's point of view, there wouldn't have been a better time to come across Liverpool. I mean, there would be, like, uncertainty all over that defense today. And um, I think Fabinho will be playing along with Virgil van Dijk in the back too. So yeah, I mean, Everton are flying high, they're in good form, and they seem to be the pumped up side. And well, I mean, there's a lot of history about reigning champions being upset by league minnows and them coming back or not in their next games. I mean, most of the times they have generally come back, but there have been the odd cases of, like, teams falling into a rut of losses following an upset like that. So interesting game to begin off this game week. And yeah, I mean, there's nothing to choose between the two sides as of now. I am sure it's going to be an extremely thrilling contest. And yeah, this actually poses to be, like, Everton's best chance at the Merseyside rivalry uh, over the recent years. What say you?
You
Any
think if
predictions?
you think if Everton win, does it put down a marker for the season for Everton as title challengers?
Again, as
I
we
know
talk
if
about.
Liverpool win, it doesn't really make a big difference. They are still the favorite. They are still the outright favorites for it. But if Everton pulls this off, I know we are just 5 games into the season, but does that kind of tell you that Ancelotti has this side firing on all cylinders right now, and maybe a title charge is not really out of the question? There won't be any European games to distract. They'll be fresher every week more than the other sides as such. Do you think it's possible?
Look, any win against Liverpool. I mean, I'm hoping for a really pumped up Aston Villa side as well this weekend. So any win against Liverpool, against the reigning champions, actually does wonders to your squad's morale. So if they actually manage to back the win, I mean, it might be too premature to, like, make them title contenders or something like that. But it will be a huge boost to Carlos' team and his team morale, because that will actually, like, egg them on to try and start believing in themselves that they can go all the way. I mean, we've been talking about Leicester's golden run in the year when they won the Premiership, and it was matches like these only which gave them the morale to go all the way, and actually went a long way in charting who finished at the top of the league. So yeah, I mean, a win at this juncture would actually give them 5 wins in five, and one of them against their crosstown rivals and reigning champions Liverpool. I mean, it hardly can get better than this, and they already look quite confident, and they already look good playing amongst themselves. There's a good vibe about the team. I mean, there are smiles all around while they play, and I think it's only going to go up if they manage to bag a win against reigning champions. It's going to be difficult, yes. I mean, we've all heard the proverb about how a wounded lion makes it stand, but yeah, I mean, that's what makes it a treat for the neutrals at least.
So talking about Liverpool, like you said, maybe Matip is back this for this game, Joel Matip, and he'll probably partner alongside Virgil van Dijk. I think Trent Alexander-Arnold might retain his right back spot, even though the last game wasn't good personally for him. But I think the real point of contention is, can Adrian pull off a decent game in goal, especially with the likes of James Rodriguez and Dominic Calvert-Lewin being in the form they have been. I think Everton will create a decent number of chances if Liverpool choose to play the way they played the last three games, which is, let's try and attack the opposition and not really focus on what we are doing at the back. So, you think, what's your score prediction? Let's start there.
I'm actually going for a 2-2. I think this will be a
Uh,
high-scoring game as well because look, after what Aston Villa managed last week, not last week, in the last game week rather, I think a lot of managers are going to go ahead and try that at least with Liverpool's defense looking vulnerable with that high line. So I see a high-scoring match, and most of Everton's matches this term have been high-scoring, even the one against West Brom to speak of. So I expect a high scoring match with the kind of energy that Liverpool generally bring to games. So yeah, I mean, I don't see this as having less than 4 goals in it.
I think, I think Liverpool will come back strongly after the last performance. I mean, they are a good side, so they have a point to prove after that. And especially after the Man United game, it was the Liverpool dream happening right there in front of them, where the arch rivals are in tatters, and to give that piece of sweet chocolate away right in the next game, it was quite heartbreaking for a lot of Liverpool fans, I'm sure. So there are some bonds that have been shaken which need to be remade, and this is the perfect game for that. To be very honest, I mean, your local rivals who are on the up have come, you know, they are throwing a challenge at you, and you have to show that you are the champion team. So my money is on Liverpool actually bringing a performance, but I think you're right. I think it will be a draw. I think it will be a high scoring draw, a
But
2-2 as well.
another thing about Liverpool as well. I mean, one of the things that last match actually showed about Liverpool is how important is Henderson for that side, at
Yeah.
least defensively. So with Thiago, Henderson, and Mane coming back into the side, I think they're going to look much more compact than they did in the last game. But yeah, I mean, a 7-2 defeat is lingers in the memory, and it's difficult to look past. So how they approach the game mentally is I think is what's going to make all the difference to them. But Klopp has
Yeah, I
been
think
suspicious like this, and I expect him to bring up a competent Liverpool side, even more so in a crosstown rivalry derby.
yeah. Hopefully Van Dijk has another off game.
Yeah,
Okay,
fans
so
will be
let's
hoping
move
for
on. Everton and Liverpool. That's what we started off. Now let's move on to Chelsea. So, as like it always happens, football is back, and unfortunately, it seems so is Kepa, because Mendy is injured and out for this game. So is Thiago Silva apparently not fit enough after the travel. long travel involved with him and Brazil. So a couple of setbacks there, but the good news is Christian Pulisic might start, which is a huge lift in my mind. We are all waiting for that boy to kind of take the form that he showed last season and continue that into the season, hopefully for a longer spell. Ziyech is also on the bench, so there is high chances that we might finally see that forward line, that famed forward line that we have been promising everyone for a while, with Ziyech, Werner, and Pulisic leading the line, with Havertz right behind them. So interesting combinations to play there. But again, the keeper and the defense. I'm not really, never really worried about the front three more than I'm worried about the back three, to be very honest. So do you think it's Christensen or Tomori to get the nod for playing alongside Bruno?
I would actually vouch for Tomori because I like him better than Christensen. But those are the alarm bells, actually. You put it quite correctly. I mean, we are basically back with our last season defense and goalkeepers. So we know where that can lead to. And Southampton are
You
coming
think
off.
Lampard will put one out of the hat and play Cavallero instead of Kepa?
He actually might. When asked in his pre-match interview, he did not really
Yeah.
commit on which goalkeeper he would be playing. So that remains to be seen, and I think that will remain to be seen until the team list comes out. But Caballero, yes, but he's how he's better than Kepa is he keeps the mistakes out. Uh, so yeah, the difference is a point of contention for Chelsea today. About Southampton's back-to-back wins before coming into this match, I wouldn't see much into it because they were against Burnley and West Brom. Though I might say here, we ourselves did struggle against West Brom. So yeah, I mean they are a good team and they have been a good team since Hassan Hotel has taken over. They are good to watch, but they will also be missing some players. Like one of the Scottish players was ruled out for COVID. Stuart Armstrong, I think, and they will be missing Janepo as well, which which will actually make us see Theo Walcott in Southampton colours yet again. So yeah, I mean they are a competent team, and Danny Ings can be the stuff of nightmares for any defense. Let alone Chelsea's makeshift last season defense again for this game. So yeah, I mean I'm expecting a few nervy moments. I am hoping against hope that they are kept to a minimum and they don't really give anything away. But yeah, I mean lots to look forward to in the forward line. I mean I see Ziyech making his debut today. I mean, if not like from the start, then at least as a substitute of the 16th minute. And yeah, Pulisic kind of feels like a breath of fresh air, almost like a new signing. And yeah, I mean, in the short stint he has had with Chelsea until now, he has actually come up as one of the favorites of Chelsea fans. I mean, as maybe the torchbearer from Hazard. And yeah, I mean it'll be that'll actually open the uh, pathway for Timo Werner to play up front as the number 9. So yeah, I mean I'm very excited to see see the attack force that we paid for this transfer window. And yeah, I mean it'll be exciting to see how they gel in together, or if they do. So yeah, I mean that's obviously the highlight of the match. What do you think about the score predictions for this one?
With the backline, I'm never quite sure. But I think 3-1 to Chelsea. I think a clean sheet is a little rare whenever we are not really, full on there at the back. So I think there is a goal there to concede. But I think we'll have enough in the tank to kind of overcome Southampton. I think Lampard has enough in the bench. I think he still might start with Tammy up front. I don't know what combination he'll play. But if Tammy doesn't start, then he's on the bench, and there is the Giroud who had a good international break in the way he scored some goals for France. So a couple of informed guys there, and hopefully they will bring us through in this game. Shouldn't we? Southampton are a slippery team. Last season they beat us at home at Stamford Bridge, and they can pull their game and really upset the opposition with their pressing. A very well coached team, I must say. So not taking it for granted, but I think we'll have enough to overcome
Yeah, my score prediction will actually be 2-1. I mean, though I have,
this. 1-2?
I'm very hopeful about our attack
No,
trio.
no, 2-1 to who?
2-1 to Chelsea, of course. I mean, come on. If it was 1-2, I would have said, ki, oh my God, we're losing. So yeah, 2-1 to Chelsea.
Yeah, when you start predicting 1-2 for Chelsea, that's the time you have to sack the manager
Yes, against Southampton, for that matter.
against Southampton.
So yeah, I mean it should be a win, 3 points for the Chelsea team with the bench strength and the first team strength that we have. But yeah, I mean it's also a home match, technically at least. So yeah, I see Chelsea not breezing through this, but yeah, winning this comfortably.
Okay. So enough of Chelsea and Southampton for now. Okay, another big game to cover for this weekend. It's the Master and the Apprentice again, once against each other. They play themselves far too often. I think this is already their fifth meeting, and it's not even it hasn't even been 1 year for Arteta in that Arsenal team. So a very interesting game lined up. Arsenal will be feeling like favorites. I'm sure they are really on a high and they feel Arteta has Guardiola's number. He knows that team inside out. He's the inside man, and he's inside Pep's head. All that jab that they keep talking about. But to be fair, Arteta has got results against Guardiola, which does indicate that he has certain, a tactician's mind for that example. I mean, he was Pep's number two for a long time, and Pep really talks highly about him. So you think Pep is feeling it a little bit, coming up against his, it's almost like Mourinho against Lampard a little bit, not the same dynamics, of course, but it's still the, my favorite son coming back to haunt me. And you think Pep's a little bit, he's vying for revenge, that I have taught you everything. Let me show you what's this all about.
And I,
You
but
think Pep will come into the game with that attitude?
there are actually bigger concerns for Pep right now. I mean, with both his strikers missing out on injury, and him losing KDB before this game. I mean, it's kind of looking uphill for him already. And you're right, his record against his former apprentice has not been that good. And yeah, I mean, even just like it was for Everton, it's a very good time for Arsenal to face Man City as well. I mean, they are obviously depleted. Raheem Sterling at striker is not really working for them right now, and they do not really have too many options sitting on the bench to come into the team and cover for the people who are missing. So yeah, I mean it's a depleted Man City, and it's a very good time to take on a team of their caliber. And yeah, I mean the Arteta factor is always there. I mean it's been even in last year's FA Cup semi-final, Pep did not really have any answer to what Arteta threw at him. So I actually see Arsenal as favourites for this match, taking nothing away from the Man City team, but they are not at full strength right now. Even more so after the disasters of the past few matches.
So you think for all the spending that Man City have done over the years, it's kind of strange that they haven't gone out and brought an out and out striker as per se. I mean, Aguero has been there for a while and he has been excellent for them. But even he, with his injury record, is not the most reliable person to stay fit for a course of a long season. Gabriel Jesus is only now coming into the role, but Aguero is still first choice every time you have a crucial game, maybe, unless the tactics call for a PC up front striker when Jesus plays. So you think they should have been in the market for a striker this time? I mean, there wasn't any news of them trying to bring one guy in. I mean, you look at the likes of Luis Suarez from Barcelona. Yeah, maybe too old, but could have come and done a job for Man City. You know, they could certainly afford his wages. You think Guardiola has missed a trick there?
Yes, obviously. I mean, they have been. relying on Sergio Aguero for years now. I mean, though he has bailed them out on more occasions than one, and he is obviously a legend at the club. It's He is getting old as we speak, and he needs a proper replacement brought in for him. Is Gabriel Jesus the answer? I'm not really sure. I mean, he can score a few wonder goals on his own day, but how consistent is he is the question there. As for Guardiola having to bring a striker in, or had to bring a striker in this transfer window, there were talks about him going after Lautaro Martinez, but again he is a striker who actually prefers to move to Madrid or Barcelona rather than come to the Premier League. So I think what Man City are looking for is another big name striker signing who can take on the baton from Sergio Aguero, and can be the mainstay for the squad in the seasons to come. So I actually if Tottenham do not manage to win any trophies this season, there can be talk about Harry Kane going to Man City maybe. I mean, though Manu have been pursuing him for some time now, he might actually be a better fit to Man City, and that might also be mutually advantageous to both parties, because that can also enable them a Champions League crown maybe, if all goes well for the team. So yeah, I mean, I think rather than short term solutions, Guardiola and Man City will be looking for a long term solution there, and they don't really have the money issue when it comes to that. So I think they did not want to enter into the striker market where the strikers were really overpriced under the corona inflicted times. But yeah, I mean, sooner rather than later, I see them venturing into the market for the top striker that they need. As of now, for this match, for purposes of the match against Arsenal, I think that that loss will actually play a big role in denting their hopes against Arsenal, because Raheem Sterling is just not cutting it for them at the striker position for them. So yeah, Arsenal
Yeah,
favorites.
I
What
think
will be the score line?
before we get to the scoreline, I want to talk about a little bit more about the new Arsenal signing, of course, Thomas Partey. And Arsenal have pulled out a good one there, I think. I think he's a very good player. And I'm absolutely bemused that Atletico had his release clause at such a low price. So I think at 45 million, he's a steal for that matter, a player of his attributes all around the middle of the park. So it's a shame actually that Kevin De Bruyne is injured because, you know, if Party starts today, it would have been interesting to see the two of them battle it out. I mean, you want to see the best players play against each other. That's how you kind of measure them up against each other. So I think there's a miss. But Thomas Partey immediately adds, let's say, around 8 to 6 points to Arsenal easily. I think he will make a big difference to that midfield. He has a great engine, very much like N'Golo Kante, but a more physical, you know, a slightly more physical build, slightly more overall better ball player as well. But while Kante is an out and out defensive midfielder, Partey is a more box to box midfielder as we have seen. So you think Thomas Partey this year will probably make Arsenal a decent team to challenge for top four?
Yes, obviously. I mean, it was a very good signing for them on deadline day, and you compared him to a much much more attack-minded N'Golo Kante. I actually find him very similar to Michael Essien that we had in our team over
Yeah,
the first decade of the 21st century.
yeah,
And yeah, I mean, both of us know how effective and inspirational he was in our midfield. I mean, and for years, for that matter. So yeah, I mean, if groomed well, he can actually be the mainstay of the Arsenal midfield, who who have been shouting out for a player like that. I mean, Xhaka at the the heart of defensive midfield was not really working for them, and I think Partey can actually come in and take that beaten forward. But it remains to be seen where Arteta chooses to play him, like how much freedom he is given to venture forward into the attacks, while shielding his own defensive line. I'm sure all those things will be smoothed over, in the course of the season. But yeah, I mean, no wonder that he's a very exciting addition to an already improving Arsenal team for the way forward. So yeah, top four. Yeah, I definitely see Arsenal finishing there. All things considered.
I love the story about Torreira being, scouted by Diego Simeone and being told that, you will play with Thomas Partey in this formation at Atletico. And then Arsenal loan him out and get Thomas Partey in. So it was really funny. I thought it was quite hilarious that Diego Simeone would have to go through something like that. So score predictions.
Um, that's a difficult one actually, but yeah, I see 2-1 Arsenal.
I would like to have I would like to see a draw. I think more than going by form, I would rather go. You know what I want right now? This league to be. I don't want Arsenal to win. Their fans are just too
Yeah, neither do I.
very
I
good.
mean, my brother-in-law is an Arsenal fan. I wouldn't hear the end of it.
So quite frankly, it's not a big deal. Leicester did it 2 weeks back. So beating Man City doesn't have the same pride and prestige about it.
Accurate. Yeah.
Yeah, but still, you will never hear the end of it from Arsenal fans. So I think I'll go for a 2-all draw. I think it might be a high scoring game there as well.
Okay. Okay.
So that's all for the 3 games today. We have another round of games tomorrow. So we'll do that tomorrow once again, where me and Pratik catch up again. And we'll have a lot to talk about, especially about United and Harry Maguire, what's going on there. So that's
Yes.
going to be an interesting conversation as well. So enough for today. Thank you for joining in. And it was lovely. Hopefully, we'll have a good run of games tonight and lots to talk about. Okay. Thank you. See
Thank
you.
you. Bye bye.